morning, class. Welcome to Homeroom with Unk and Market Monk. Morning, P. How's your week?
It was good. Just I was out of town. Didn't do a lot. Friday, I just had the one note on coin, but that was kind of all I needed. But yeah, I don't like these middle of the week breaks. They're a little bit of a disruption, so I just sort of kind of trade accordingly with those.
Yeah, definitely with you on that boat. It kind of messes up the. I wish I had a better word for it, but the flow messes up the
Yeah,
flow of
well,
the
right.
week.
There is kind of a rhythm to the way option flow builds into the end of the week, and when you have a day off, that just kind of kills it. And I think we saw it too with yeah, like that. Thanks. We saw You saw it too with crypto and the way that, I mean, really, if the market had been open on a night that Bitcoin dropped 6-8% or something like that, you would have seen a more drastic
Yeah,
reaction from the stocks on the pullback. Instead, they pulled back overnight. Like we say, don't chase puts, and then really really solid recovery in most of those names.
yeah. As long as you have the rotation down on which names to be on. I mean, if you're sitting there holding your dick, fucking trading Mara right now, I don't know what you're doing because there's just way better range on other stuff
Yeah,
in the market.
there was a group that was basically kind of puffing their chests out about some 8% bump on Mara. It had gone down, I think, 5% from when they alerted
Yeah.
it, went up 8 or 10, and then gave it right back. And that's just sort of how it is. Whereas a lot of the smalls that we talk about, you can just park some money there and just wait it out and get a nice move.
Yeah, no, 100%. And again, that sector is just the easiest um, for the rotational reads, I guess. I mean, oil. You got to wait on the commodity price, but we don't get the spikes in oil like we do in the. I mean, it's Bitcoin. It's not Ethereum or anything else or any of these shit coins. Zach ain't pushing it, but the Bitcoin, the way it works as a commodity, is just unlike anything else. In my
Yeah.
opinion, it's for me, it's darn near easy to trade. I know Carlos picked it up. Um, because I just said, this is when you buy. When we break below this 60, that's just when you got to start buying. And Bitcoin's very good at making a comeback or at least a recover range candle for you, and that really pushes the stocks. And I don't know why, and you'd probably be better knowing why or the reason behind it right now. But it seems like we're getting back into that crypto leg up season we seen maybe a year
Uh,
ago.
yeah, and the you just got to not be overwhelmed by the flash crashes. To me, are engineered to clear leverage out, and you see all those posts about that because people trade crypto on. I'm not talking like, I mean, what's I don't really trade on margin that often, but like what's a typical margin for stock shares? What, like 2x or 4x or something like that? And for crypto, they go 50x, 100x in those brokerages, and that's why they get liquidated when Bitcoin drops 3%. So you have to understand we're in a different kind of thing, and these smalls, what we try to do is have a pretty wide range where you can add, that we've seen before, and then we know what the targets are. I monitor the flow to see if they're still in that stuff, and you'll usually do pretty well if you don't plant a flag, if you don't go short expiration. Um, you'll do fine. And then for me, that I do go short expiration, but it's always coin or MSTR, and very much the 15 to 30 minute
It's built for that
30 minute
though.
trade.
Those
Yeah,
charts
it's
are
built for
built for
that.
that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just interesting that it's coming around again. Um, after I guess the all time high right now. So it seems like we're gonna form a higher low and maybe push to new all time highs in bitcoins. I just don't know the reason behind it. Like why now? Is it gonna be an election issue or is there something going on
There
out there in the world that's making Bitcoin seem like attractive again, or is it just simply that the market's at all time highs?
I mean, there is the election. I think is bigger for it than it ever has been because it's always been dismissive and negative. Trump was his whole thing was always like nothing beats the dollar, so it's a waste of time. And then now he's like seeing the opportunity there. I could see where the crypto space would be sort of attracted to his whole vibe without getting into the politics of it. And then you have the other side getting softer on their criticisms of it. There's just a few outspoken people, but it's following the weed trajectory with the parties flipped to me.
Okay.
So I think that's part of it. And then the the Ethereum ETF. I think people misread what the ETFs really mean, but those do inject a lot of liquidity into it. There's that. Big one to me is what Michael Dell, or Dell in general, uh, is thinking about talking about with Bitcoin. He could have some big buys. You have the Mount Gox thing, which is it's not actually that they're selling it; they're releasing the coins to people, and they may or may not
Sell
sell
them.
them. But yeah, so there's just a lot of kind of uncertainty and um, sort of optimism the way that these dips get bought. So all that kind of is working in the favor of it to me.
It's interesting that the one parallel I always do see is the story, or the reasons. I guess the story is the best way to put it, and you nailed that a few years ago. Start calling the stocks or commodities have a story behind them, basically. Um,
Yeah,
Bitcoin Bitcoin to me has made it through the negative. I mean, we were just going into the halving, wondering how that was going to pan out, and that was kind of the high or low you needed. Now we're getting into a news cycle with Bitcoin, so it's just interesting to see it shape up because it really feels. It's weird to be 50K, 55K, 60K, 62K, whatever on Bitcoin, and me thinking the chart has more range up. Um,
yeah, yeah.
it's
No,
just an
absolutely.
interesting spot. So I just definitely wanted to get your take on why we're taking off, or it seems like we're taking off. But politically, though, if you have one it's bad and one it's good at one point in time, that's a coin flip. But if you have two people with a plan, um, that's a win-win for the people that like the coin or like the EV, like the chargers, like the solar, whatever. When both parties want to use it, they just have different plans. I think
Yeah,
it's one of the best catalysts you can get, because then you're just fighting for how we do it instead of if we're going to
right.
do it.
Exactly.
Um, did want to bring up news to you a little bit to see on your side, but man, we're in that. We're not all the way there, but we're like 85% of the way there where good news is good and even bad news is good right now. And I'm wondering if you're seeing that on your side, or if that's pushing volume and stuff at all on your side. Um,
Um, yeah, I mean it continues. The trend day down continues to be the unicorn. I mean, it's just so rare to even get that, and there's just no way you can trade for that because I think the reason bad news is good is because they seem to turn it into a rate cut story.
okay.
Like if things are
Yep.
bad enough, then they're going to cut rates, and so that means that a lot of rate sensitive names, take off because of that, and then just the way the Mag Sevens kind of reversed expectations and just keeps plowing forward. Facebook was up 5% on Friday. I mean, I can't give you a good reason for that, but yeah, they're just piling in, and even within
Yeah.
chips, I've gotten onto this internal little sector rotation that's going on, and I got on ARM I think Tuesday,
Yeah.
and it's over 180 now. I posted leaps. I think that's like 2026 260C, and I said like get used to more of this, and that was like 3 weeks ago. That doesn't seem as crazy now because I mean this could get to 220 by the fall if this continues. So I think you have to stop. Not you, but like in general, I don't think you just look for, okay, stocks are too expensive. We need to drop now. That's just not how these pullbacks are playing out, and market's just not in the mood to have a negative reaction to negative news. And so we got CPI coming up again, and I think people are going to pin their hopes on that. I just think you're throwing money away swinging puts overnight for the most part, unless it's hedging something else.
Yeah, I'm a bull. I mean, well, no, I'm a bull. I trade shares upside. That's how that works.
Yeah,
I really thought we were going to get more of a pullback. I'm not going to lie about that at all. From not
yeah.
necessarily
Oh, me too.
test the November lows, but we're just in an uptrend. We're in a very big bullish market. It's not the fastest moving. It's not even like the one most people got into trading in 2020. Where I mean, if you go look at the COVID drop and then the government check run. That's what I like to call it. That happens
Yeah,
so fast, and that's not typical. Normally, bull runs and bear runs, they take a year or two or three to kind of pan themselves out, and we're in the middle of that. P. We just are. Um, I mean, depending on where you put the start. If you put the start in November, we're 8 9 months in. So um,
yeah, and my biggest hope for the room. Everyone's wanting to learn how to trade and making some progress there. But I just hope that during this whole time, they also got their day job going and they're maxing out the 401k and all that stuff because I mean it's just been such a great run,
yes,
for that to just have that just that passive investing. Or if you just buy VU, I mean, there was a guy in here who we ended up kicking out who, he just had gambling issues and getting sick of getting blamed for his stupid decisions basically, and then he got disrespectful and so we got rid of him. But I told him, I'm like, if you're trying to trade weeklies, going to a meeting, just buy VU, you know and just let it go. Oh, that's too boring. Well, I mean, I don't that's up 60% or something from when I said that.
yeah,
So the so you don't have to do a lot. I think there are everyone's here for a reason, that learn to trade, wants to trade and everything, but don't lose sight of what you can achieve just with the shut up and buy, and just go back to work idea. And finding individual names there is fine. Indexes are fine for that too. But yeah, so I mean, it's if you're going to be surprised by something that happens in the market, it's good to get a piece of that. And that's why with trades I try to leave one if I can, and then just with the share buys, you get the full move.
yeah. The shorter you try to, I don't want to say hit a number, but it fits the best. But the shorter you try to, hit a number, if whether it's a daily thing or if you have a goal of $100 a day, make sure my math's right on this, P. If you have a goal of a hundred
Yeah,
bucks a day, I mean, you're not going to bat 30 for 30 or 20 for 20 through the month. But
yeah,
if your goal is $2,000 or $3,000 on the month, you got a really good chance to hit that with a plan. And that, I mean, that's just trading in itself. So the shorter you go on the expiration of your trades, the more likely it is you're gonna not win. That's why I swing trade. I won't say it's hard to to lose on swing trading, but if you have a good set of rules, you're not planting flags like you say, some support and resistance levels, it's real hard to lose on swing trades, Pete. It really is.
uh,
It
yeah,
just
it is,
really is.
because this the sectors we enter, we're getting in those for a reason. And a lot of times when a sector does get bullish, it can have a couple bad days, but it shakes that off. It's really hard for that momentum to flip around, and the reason is that the stuff that we try to enter, the flow on it is just so rock solid that yes, whales could lose, but it's sure a lot easier for them if they win. So they just decide to go ahead and win, like because they really can move these things. And so it's all about a lot of it. It's just control the hold things in consolidation for a while, but they have the tools to just to just send it. Now there's people on the other side of the trade, of course, but when I see them in these options 6, 8 months out, and they're just not budging, that usually tells me something. And so I don't think when people say all the time like, oh, don't be paper hands, don't get shaken out. To me that's not, you don't put yourself in a position where you're looking at a big loss and have to sit through it. But you just be patient and get a good average around our levels, and then yes, you can wait it out. Takes 2 weeks, takes a month, whatever it is. Stock takes off. We start posting timestamps, and we've been doing this over and over and over again. So that's everybody. I think needs a piece of their account to try to build that kind of thing. In addition to just the quick hitters in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, for the guys that are newer, I don't understand, or I don't see how it's not their plan, and maybe I should just start saying it to people a little bit more. But if you like kind of want to trade options, I get it. I get it. It's cheaper. It is kind of sexy. Whatever. It's the thing. It's the thing you do in the 2020s is you trade options.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I also think when you get to a chart that the options just don't work for you, but you like the setup still, that's when you trade the shares. Um, I don't know if like MDB was that right. If it was hard to find an option position in this last MDB drop, if it is, you just buy some shares. If you still like the setup, and that should be like
yeah,
that should be a step in the plan. Like, all right, well, these premiums are too high, or they only have monthlies, or they only have 250 strikes. I don't know what kind of problems you guys go through, but those problems that y'all go through over there, I can't get filled. The spread's too much. When you have
yeah.
that, that's when you should just revert to share. Like, look at it from a share perspective, because the setup should still be there for you. Is what I mean by it. If you're going to trade an option, um, you're safer on the share side, and you still need the damn move to the, I assume, to the north, unless you're buying puts. But
Um, yeah. So MDB spent let's see, a little over a week around that 220 pivot.
random,
If you
random,
bought,
random number, random number.
yeah, if you bought when it first did that, um, you'd be sweating it out a bit because the spreads are pretty wide. Unless if you go several months out, you're talking about $1,000 probably. And so you're just waiting it out. It went to 226 or whatever. Kept coming back, kept coming back. Um, any chance to get the full move has to be just keep some under 220, keep some under 220, and shares to me. So that was really my strategy on that one. Um, I got plenty of other stuff to trade options on. I also didn't want to you know park a ton of money in that. So yeah,
Yes,
and now
yes.
it's 266.
That's
That
30,
is
30, 40%.
exactly. So I mean, that's fine. Share side. I don't care if you got three of them or five of them. Like that's great. And then coming up 285 is a pivot I have above. Probably going to test that. We'll see what happens. But you've got it's not going to drop 30% in a day unless it's earnings. And so you got time to just figure out what you want to do. So yeah, that was a perfect example of that. Real quick point or rant or whatever on some of these setups. I think with the notes, if you're going to use my notes, you really pretty much have to use them as they're written. It's not just that like, oh, he wrote about coin.
Trade
Okay, I'm going to
coin.
trade
Yeah, yeah,
coin,
don't
and
do
I'm going to
that.
wait. And I'm going to like, it's going to probably flush in the morning. And then all of a sudden it recovers. It goes from 209 to 215, and it's like, oh, I'm trying to decide if I'm going to enter coin or not. I, I mean, at that point it's 50-50, and you already missed it. So you have to get on it as it's written, and I'm usually my notes are written for like, I think it opened, this is going to happen. And if I do that, if it does this, I'm going to do this, etc. There's that. The secondary move is there, but you have to retest that level or close to it to get in on a secondary move. What you cannot do is just watch the trade work and then, jump in when the trade might be half over or it might be over. I'm mostly out, so I don't really care. If coin went way further than I thought it would, great, that's gravy. But 3/4 of my stuff was already sold on the around that 215 area because I wasn't sure if it was going to test 220. But yeah, you can't just. It's not like, and this is where I'm a little different than a lot of these Furu people, where it's just like for them, they post some watch list, real unrealistic trigger, the stock goes up, they post the max gains on some contract, and they're like, "Who banked?" Mine, it's very contextual, especially coin. So you cannot be tentative with options. You better know what you're going to do and just do it, or just don't do it at all.
No, I totally agree with that. Um, this one might be a little bit for you too, sir. Just looking at the chart, but if you're day trading, I need to pound the table on this more. You gotta be using RTO levels, and those aren't my
Yeah,
historical lines on the chart. That's pre-market high, pre-market low, yesterday high, yesterday low. Especially looking at coin, Jesus Christ. I mean,
yeah,
that's just where it hangs out at. I mean, it's fluid, but those lines basically line up over the last 2 or 3 days, just in general. Um, and real quick on them other Furus, since you touched base a little bit on them. Through this whole conversation, I kind of wrote down a note early on, but it keeps like hitting, making sense. So definitely want to sneak it in. But the biggest difference between them and us is, like you said, you get this, we're max gains. Here we are every, and
yeah,
they'll update it every 40 minutes. Oh, now we're at 300%. Oh, now we're at 350. And then eventually they're like, all right, the top was over there, and it's all like commentary afterwards. We're not telling you
yeah,
that. We don't fucking care. We're telling you to fill your cup and you can re-enter. I mean, and it's just a
yeah,
totally different mindset. It just really is. I mean, you need to get your head around that. Is that the other one is kind of an advertisement. It's not an alert. They're just advertising
yeah,
what they're doing over there. There's not a lot of substance to that. There's a lot of substance just with nailing. Don't be a greedy. Fill your cup, and you can re-enter the same trade again. It's probably helpful for you to enter that same trade again. And I can point to nothing else but the chart we just talked about with you, coin. I mean, you're 2.5 years into trading that thing on a daily basis. Um,
yeah.
if you took any time off, it was maybe a week or so or a month or so when the market was cold. But I don't think you took time off from the chart ever.
No, no, I've read flow on it the whole time.
The
I just
story,
want to,
the
want
story,
to
the
see
whole
where, yeah, I
time.
want to see where they reposition. Coin, even in bearish conditions, has this advantage that they are the custodian for the ETFs. I mean, so they're involved in it. They're piling up fees, regardless of what's happening, and that
Yeah,
really does limit its downside. And I mean, I've been looking for coin to kind of have its sort of disaster moment. Like 180 was what I was after. Got down to 196. I went ahead and I'm like, well, I'm at least going to have a share average under 200. And so I got started there, and it hasn't really dipped back. And of course, you gotta peel most of that off over 250. But anyway, yeah. So I look for that. But the way that this 220 level operates is just really something to see. And to me, a lot of it is it's not going to fall so far that the 220 contracts become irrelevant. That would change. That would change the setup, and they're just not letting that happen. But yeah, coin's going to give you a lot of chances. I keep saying don't chase it, and I do hope people listen to that.
perfect, perfect. May transition over to the big dog, getting there towards the
Yep.
end here. Pull this chart up. I think we were 55 on the top last week,
Yeah.
inching up. Let me grab the actual numbers. Yeah, 55.05, and then 42.52 down. What do we have on downside? You had 37 at 38, so it stayed higher than we anticipated. You had 548.19. I had 552.52. I'm taking the dub there, just on that top side, Pete. I'm gonna have to do that
Yeah.
too
Oh
today.
yeah. Definitely.
Friday though, Friday kind of salvaged that for me. It seemed like the market took off the beginning of the week, and then people came back to work after the fourth. It's kind of what it
Yeah.
seems like. Um, the trend's not stopping, in my opinion. I'm not going to fight this trend. I'm not going to try to call a top every week or a top or a bottom every week. But just no reason even to check. I think we could say there's no reason to check back to 540 right now. I mean, that's just where we are.
Yeah, and it's been a story of just kind of recalibrating that. I mean, because it was like 520. I thought we'd linger there longer. That didn't happen. I thought we'd revisit it. That didn't happen. Like got to 524 or something, and then that's just been the story, kind of all the way up. So now 540 being the new 520. Um, it's pretty far in the rearview mirror right now. So it would take a lot.
Do you think? I mean, it's. I'm pulling a number out my ass here, so don't read anything into the number. But do you think six is possible? I mean, the way we're going into the year.
Uh, I do. I mean, I follow QQQ more closely day to day, and it's sitting there 500 is pretty much a certainty now at this point, sitting at 496. So, and that obviously has been, the big leader because it's so tech heavy. But yeah, no, I think I do think it's possible. I would expect it'll stall out and before that
Yes.
592 or something. I mean, just the way that I've seen psych levels operate before, that it's going to need some time to
We
pull
got
back,
three big
charge up. Yeah,
three big events. I mean, September. I'm a firm believer right now why we're still running or why you're seeing so much activity in stocks that are they're shitty pennies. Let's just put it that way.
yeah.
Is because people are anticipating we might get a rate cut in September. I mean, we're getting close. We're what 2 months from that, 2.5 months from that.
Um,
And
yeah, one of the big banks just came out with that idea, like
yeah, so I think they're waiting
publicly.
that,
Citibank.
and then we have the election itself, and then we have probably the first rate cut in December. So I mean, we have like three pretty big news catalysts in that regard going into the end of the year. So that's kind of why I asked that question. That's not normal either, where there's kind of three pretty big buy events or not liquidity volatility events set up after Q3. I mean that's for me, that's what can make that possible. But also, I'm a statistics guy, so at least one of those three has got to be bad news for the market.
Yeah, I now so the I'm gonna put you on the spot here for a second.
Let's do it.
Uh, Rank these from most bullish to least bullish. I mean, I won't even say bearish, but Trump, Biden, other. Like if
Ooh,
Biden gets replaced.
most bullish for market overall.
Yeah,
I have to say I think it's Trump. It
I
just
do. I think so too.
just
Yeah,
on so I'll break it down why so it's not political is we've seen what Biden's given us and I don't think people are happy. We've seen what most people seen what Trump gave us, and it was better for most people. And definitely with the current situation, it makes it seem even better. And
yeah,
the third guy is just going to confuse the shit out of everybody, and people aren't going to know what to do. I think
exactly.
it'll
Yeah,
be
that's
good.
my opinion.
It'll be good for like whatever he rants about. Um, like I, okay, so I can tell you what would be bad if fucking RFK gets elected. Let's just use him, right? If we get the
Yeah,
Kennedy guy, fuck it, I'm not investing in medical stuff. I'm telling you that right now.
right, right. Yeah,
It just depends. But crypto may be great under that guy, right? I mean, he might.
yeah,
It just depends on how he comes out. But when you don't have a true third candidate um, campaigning, like, and you're not getting that, you kind of don't know what he's gonna do. You really don't. So, yeah,
Yeah, and then I mean, if Biden's off the ticket, I think that one, I think that probably boosts Trump's chances, but then also that the uncertainty there, that would probably be the best setup for volatility, but not for continuation.
I
Just that,
so whoever that candidate is, Pete, I think people. I mean, there's a list already, but if it's like one from the list, your Newsom's, Michelle,
yeah,
Kamala, Pete, Buttigieg, if it's somebody like that from the list from the home team, it's just going to be seen as a younger Biden's. Um,
yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah,
Not necessarily young him as a person, but just as the his policies are just a younger Biden. I think that's how that will look.
yeah,
So I just think that's like a one in a 2A, depending on
mhm.
that side. Their only true third candidate or other would be like the RFK or somebody like that.
Yeah, and for my answer would be Trump would be the most bullish, because I think you get continuation in the strongest sectors right now. I think Mag 7 would be fine and chips and all that. But he would juice up some oversold stuff, including oil. And
Yeah,
with
yeah.
oil being such a big part of the S&P, I mean that'd be the thing that breaks 600, to me.
I don't think
But
either of
yeah,
them. I don't think either of them kill the market. That's the last thing I'm going to say
yeah,
about that.
yeah,
I don't.
with you
I
on that.
don't think that is going to happen.
And and last comment on chips before SPY, like I've been saying for a while now, chips have become a national security issue,
Sure.
and the real and it also its importance and weight in the market that there's just limits on how much they're going to let that fall, and that's why I think that the internal sector rotation has become such a big part of that, and that's why I'm on that.
And I have the market in one word right now, P. It's and if I don't want to say foolish trying to figure it out, but the ROI on trying to figure it out is kind of foolish
Yeah,
for me right now. But anticipation, you got big
yeah,
money trying to anticipate the next move, and that's what we're
yeah,
seeing. We're at that point in the cycle or just the overall conditions in the market where we're setting up the pieces for the next move, even though we're running right now. And again, that's why I feel like there's another leg up because you can see them setting the table right now, and
yeah.
usually they
Real,
take their money off the table. That's why our yield conversation was interesting last week, the 10 year,
yeah.
because I just really don't see that being an option. These people are setting up for the next bull run. It really feels like that across the board.
You see it plain as day in solar and real estate. So,
Yeah,
and those
yeah.
coincidentally are the most rate sensitive sectors.
We
So,
we should cover
yeah,
real estate and solar sometime. We maybe should do
yeah,
that.
yeah. I think we should. Yeah, yeah. We got to take a look at
Do
them.
you know any real estate stocks?
Right. Yeah,
You know any solar stocks? Fuck, I
yeah,
don't know. Um,
yeah.
is
Gives a good dividend.
isn't
So
there
yeah,
one called Phaser or something? I don't know.
yeah,
Let me go first here.
yep,
4760, or excuse me, 54760. I got a problem with always just, where we're at. We're in the 500. So
yeah.
4760. It's just this little shelf right here in volume profile on the 1 hour. You just don't really have much up here. Larger time frames have been hard to kind of predict and pull levels, so I'm going to go with that. I don't see much downside. And then we're inching up. It ain't going to stop. It's just not. So 558, 69 shout out Goose is my top this week. You're not stopping this train until we hit something.
Yep. Pretty much with you. I've got 546.79. Just saw some flow there, and then just a couple hourly wicks have
I like it.
gone below that, and then yeah, upside is uh, I'm gonna go 558.50.
Oh god, we're real close.
Yeah,
Yeah, I always think I'll pull it up on my screen because I can see it. I'm pretty sure I can see it. I always think, all right, P's gonna look at the weeklies here for this week, and then you go into like Spy, and there's so many contracts. Like,
yeah, yeah,
which one do you pick? So,
yeah. It's I will say so the contract I have my eyes on, and I talked about this with Goose a bit. December. So like December 500. Now the put, and obviously that's way the hell, you know, out of the money, but it's got enough time where it can stay relevant, and that is of contracts that aren't just dead. That's the
Yeah.
number one open interest contract, 206,000 OI. So they're just going to stay in that. They're gonna. It's mostly ask side, so they're still buying it. They're hedging, of course, but it's the one that can wake up if we do get a pullback. So um, that's the only thing there. I will say though, I mean for the way that this story's played out before, what I would actually need to see, if you see me buy an SQQQ, what I would need to see for that to happen is for 540 September to really get aggressive. That would be the one, and I don't see that yet. So, eyes peeled for that. But that's the only thing to me that will disrupt what we got going.
Man, so you don't make your opinion based on open interest on a contract on a weekly? I mean,
Yeah, no,
how are you supposed to tweet?
yeah, right.
Yeah, good stuff and good information for people to kind of watch. Because I mean, it's not a random. I'm assuming that's not a random date. There's a lot to that story of that contract. The reason.
Um, yeah, it's the 1-2 punch. It's so it's like August, January, or September, December. So it's
Yep.
a little tighter with SPY, but you got to have that 1-2 punch to get any kind of continuation down or up, and so it's the biggest thing I look for, and experience just tells me which dates matter for that. But that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. So even the whales don't plant their flags; they space it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. All right, you ready to get to work, Pete?
Yeah, I'll grab a coffee and we'll hit it up in about 5 minutes.
Perfect. Like and subscribe for more people. Link somewhere.
Yeah.